To the Phil Steele Tour with selections for September the 8th. And up for you today, I've got 4 selections, 3 more quick hitters. Quick hitters 2-1 last week, and 3 FBS versus FCS plays for you. 10 plays altogether. You know, last week the selections went 1-3. That brings the record now on the selections to 24-14 the last 7 weeks. But including the quick hitters, the 2 years, 89-63. Quick hitters went 2-1 last week for a nice winning week again. So 89-63 over the last 2 years for your Phil Steele Plus Tour, including the quick hitters. On your screen right now, you see what we have under Phil Steele Plus. And to get you there, I'll show you what we got. When you get to Phil Steele Plus, and the purpose of this video is to show you how to access all the information that's in Phil Steele Plus and use it for the week. But you get to your menu for Phil Steele Plus, you've got FBS information, FCS information, NFL information. You want team pages for the NFL. We're here in Cleveland. The Browns are playing. You want to get the last 22 years matchups. You can see the Browns have done well against Cincinnati. Look at that. They've actually won 6 of the last 7. I didn't know that. 6 of the last 7 against Cincinnati, they've won outright. They get you the schedule, and then, of course, this is updated, including average game grades all year long for the NFL. I don't have any NFL for you on this tape. It's just first week of the season. You get FCS and FBS, but we'll dip into those pages as we go along. So this page right here, when we go back here, under our menu for the Phil Steele Plus is under Phil Steele lines for all FBS versus FCS games. This tells you the line, if it was last met, last score, plus minus ratings, my preseason number, situational edge, revenge. All that is up here for you each and every week. The latest Vegas line is updated. These will have scores updated right over here. And we keep updating this chart. It'll even be updated one more time today when we get even more information put on it. But let's get started with the first thing we're looking at today, and it's Middle Tennessee State, Missouri. And Todd was telling me that he's had numerous people ask him about the average game grades. Well, this spells it out perfectly. You got Middle Tennessee coming off a 56-7 beatdown by Alabama. You got Missouri beating South Dakota 35-10. And yet, look at the average game grades. Average game grade for Middle Tennessee State is 90. The average game grade for Missouri is 89.4. Well, I mean, they played Alabama. They were a huge favorite over South Dakota and didn't get it done. And the average game grade not only takes into account the score of the game, it takes into account the yards of the game, and most importantly, takes into account the opponent. Now, had Middle Tennessee lost 56-7 to South Dakota, we'd have a much different number here. But this is the amazing thing, and it's your first play, by the way. Look at this. Middle Tennessee, even off that big loss, is a 90.0 power rating play. Missouri is an 89.4. Missouri is a 21-point favorite here. The average power play says Missouri barely wins with the home field edge. We're taking Middle Tennessee State plus 21 and use this average game grade all year long. It's a great power rating to use. It's updated all season long. You can see it right here. You could tell how the team played, and even look at last year. Middle Tennessee opened with a poor game, 68.6. The next week they bounced back with a 101.5. Green is a really good number. This gives you your grade for the year. This gives you your grade over the last 4 weeks. Use this average game grade, and this spells it out for you. A team off a big loss versus a team off a big win, yet they had the better average game grade, mostly because of the opponent they played and the expectations coming into the game. And by the way, the average game grade does not have anything to do with Middle Tennessee or anything to do with Missouri. It's the stats you put up against your opponent. So there's no preconceived power rating here. Like based at the start of the year, a power rating, there's no starting power rating on the average game grade. It only accounts for who you played and what you did against them. Use this average game grades all season long. All right, I showed you that chart, and we're going to go back to that chart for this next play. We're taking a look at Notre Dame against NC State. Now, first of all, if you know, and this will help me explain some of these charts to you, We're looking at the plus-minus ratings. This is your plus-minus game of the week. My plus-minus power ratings have Notre Dame minus 17.5. As you see here, they're only minus 7.5. So that's why it's in green. Anything over 10 points in my plus-minus power ratings or over 15 points in the FBS versus FCS gets a green best bet number. How the best bets did, let's see, 1, 2. Best bets went 8-2 the first week. This, if it's black, that means it won. And if it's red, that means it lost. But 8-2 the first week for the best bets. You can see the best bets highlighted here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-2 so far. And this week there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them in there. So make sure you do get your best bets. We'll see if there's any more down below here. Nope, just 5. Get your best bets for the plus-minus. But adding to the fact that the plus-minus likes it, Notre Dame's won 28 in a row straight up against ACC foes. And something else I want to point out for you, not only have they won 28 in a row straight up, but when you click on the Notre Dame team page and look at the last 40 years' results, I'll bring it over here a little bit. Your lines are updated, so let's see. Let's look at the ACC games. Now, this W and L here, if it's bold, and by the way, you go all the way back to 1976. You got lines all the way back to 1976 on every game. You've got totals going back to 2004, and we've put it half times in here, which I think are very valuable to show you how the game was played. You get half times all the way back to 2004 as well. So all that's available. Oh, here, we got totals in 2003, halftime since 2004. That's on every single game. It's a tremendous reference tool. Takes you all the way back to 1976 if you ever want to do any research on numbers. This is available for every single team in the FBS. But let's look at how Notre Dame did. As I mentioned, if it's bold, that means they won the game straight up, 44-0. But if it's W, that means they covered the game. Like here versus Navy, it's bold. They won the game 35-32, but they actually did not cover because they were minus 16.5. But let's see how Notre Dame does against the ACC. There's a win, 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, and North Carolina 4-0. And let's come over here. And we have got Georgia Tech 5-0, Virginia 6-0, North Carolina 7-0, Virginia Tech 8-0. They have won the last 8 games against the spread versus the ACC. So 28 wins in a row against the ACC, 8 in a row against the spread. And my plus-minus power ratings say Notre Dame minus 17.5. Play number 2, Notre Dame minus 7.5. Something else I want to point out for you, and it goes a little bit about some cover games last week, is thanks to, the box score's not updated. Oh, I was going to show you that this week. Todd's running a little behind this week. He'll have them updated today. When you get a chance, click on the box score here for Penn State, West Virginia. You'll see that Penn State basically scored with 1 second left to get the cover against West Virginia. And the same thing, we'll see if he's got Kentucky's updated. I doubt it. He doesn't have the halftimes updated either. He'll get those up there. Kentucky against Ball State. Kentucky got a 30-yard touchdown run in the final seconds of that game to get the cover. But when you click on box, I'll show you over here one of last year's games. Take a look. We'll just click on a random one here. You get this on every single game. And I go through the play-by-play of every game every week. And these are courtesy of collegepressbox.com. Todd usually has them posted right up and early, but with 87 games this week, he's running behind. But you take a look here. It gives you the scoring of the game. It gives you the box score of the game. It gives you the players. And then you get the play-by-play. And you could go through and see exactly, oh, by the way, you get your starters up here, which is awesome. You get your drive chart. And then here you go through the play-by-play of every game. I watch the games on TV, but when you're following 12 games, it's tough to capture every single play of every single game. So that's why I go through the play-by-play, and it really helps me go back, refresh what I just saw on the TV. And if the game wasn't on TV and I didn't watch it, it helped me go through the game and see how the drives went and if there was fluky plays and if there was instances. So use those box scores each and every week. Todd will have them updated. Just click on box score to get that done. All right, let's go to our overreaction game of the week. And the overreaction game of the week this week is we're going to take a look at Arkansas State, who was abysmal against Oklahoma last week. So we're going to click Arkansas State. We go to the Sun Belt. These are under team pages. Arkansas State, and this week they are playing Memphis, and Memphis is in the American Conference. Now, this is one where Memphis played great last week. They beat Bethune-Cookman 56-14, as expected. Memphis is a great home team, and I showed you last week this great spread thing. I forgot to have Todd pull one up for me so I could show you what we're going to have, but we expand the spread from what's in the magazine. The magazine has straight-up records, home, away, neutral versus conference, non-conference, ATS records, home favorite, home dog, away favorite, away dog, neutral conference versus conference, non-conference, off a straight-up win, off a straight-up loss. We're expanding those. We're taking them in about 25 other different categories. Once again, Todd's been a little overwhelmed. 84 games last week, 87 games this week. He will have them up next week. So we will have those spreads. I'll be going over them. We'll be able to look at them. So keep that in mind. And that'll show you all the spread records for the teams, and those will be available at your fingertips. A new feature to Phil Steele Plus this year. But the one thing I want to point out, let's click on the Arkansas-Memphis. Anytime you click on the opponent, you get the last 22 years matchups. And let's take a look at Arkansas versus Memphis. Now, Memphis has won the last 4 games, but as you see, Arkansas State's covered the last 3. In fact, Memphis only won by 7 here. Memphis won by 5 here, and Memphis won by 12 last year. And here's one where I can point out a misleading final. Let's go back to last year's Arkansas State-Memphis game, and you can see that with 2 minutes and 30 seconds to go in a game, Arkansas State's winning 32-31. Memphis gets a 39-yard touchdown run to pull out the win, and then I believe it was after Arkansas State was probably stopped on downs deep in its own territory. Let's take a look. Something happened here late to set up this other one. Yeah, Arkansas on 4th and 8 punted, and then Memphis took over at their own 34. How the heck did they get a touchdown here? Pass interference on Jones for 4 to the Memphis 34 out of bounds. Third place, Memphis drive starts at the 34. Well, Memphis scores a touchdown. It must have been up here. Here's where they drive. No, that scores a touchdown. Arkansas State punted, and Memphis scored another touchdown late, though. But it shows you that in the game, Arkansas State actually led Memphis last year by a point with 2.5 minutes to go in the game. Now, yes, they got blown out last week by Oklahoma, and Memphis looked great. But this is a Memphis team that is not as good on the road. And take a look last year. They won their home games convincingly. On the road, they lost to Mississippi State, lost to East Carolina, lost at Tulane, lost at SMU. In fact, let me flip to my magazine real quick, and that's what looking on the page. I've got the spread records there. Ryan Silverfield is 0-3, 0-7, 0-8, 1-8, 3-10 against the spread on the road. Meanwhile, Memphis is 16-4 straight up at home. So they're a great home team, a below-average road team. Arkansas State's off a massive loss. They're at home in their home opener against a team they've played even up basically the last 3 years, and they're getting 21.5 points. Let's take Arkansas State plus 21.5 as your overreaction game of the week. All right, we're going to go back to our handy-dandy little schedule file here and take a look at Alabama and Texas. And this is one where it is the last met line game of the week. And let me tell you how this column works here. When the teams last met, Alabama last year, for example, was a 21.5-point road favorite. Now, that's taking into account the home edge, the 3-point home edge for Texas. So you would have taken away the 3-point home edge. Alabama would have been 24-point favorite. If Alabama was at home last year, they would have been a 28-point favorite in this game. And so Alabama is at home this year. Last year, they would have been a 28-point favorite. This year, they're only -7. That's a 21-point difference, and that's why it's in green. It'll be one of the best bets for the last met line game of the week. And all these best bets, these green things here, they're yours free on Phil Steele Plus. Phil Steele Plus, just $99 for the year. All you have to do there is just go to the store. Go to the home page. We're going to click on the store. And when we click on the store, we're going to click on Phil Steele Plus. And as you can see, Phil Steele Plus just $99 for the year. But here's the trick. It's $99 for the year, but it's free with your Inside the Press Box subscription. So get the college. Like this week, I've got 87 write-ups on every game. Every FBS versus every FCS game is broken down, including my computer's forecast, my forecast. Once again, I wanted Todd to have a picture of a computer forecast for inside the press box, but I forgot to tell him this morning before I started the tape. So, but we've got a great write-up every single week. You get my complete write-up on the forecast. You get my computer's forecast on the game. And it's all season long, every single FBS game, $169. And you get Phil Steele Plus for free. So it's like paying $70 for an entire year of Inside the Press Box. So, but this is free every week if you're on Phil Steele Plus. If you're not on Phil Steele Plus, get it for just $99 right now. But as you can see, Alabama would be a 28-point favorite. And here they're only laying 7. I like that. I like the fact that Alabama, let's take a look at Alabama games. And I just want to delve in a little closer on them when you look at Alabama. Alabama has struggled on the road. Look at last year. At Texas, barely won. At Tennessee, they lost. At LSU, they lost. At Ole Miss, they won by 6. And the year before that, Florida, they barely escaped the swamp with a win. They lost at A&M. At Auburn, they barely escaped with a win. So they have struggled on the road. However, Alabama at home is 14-5-1 against the spread. So that is an outstanding record for Bama. They are 14-5-1 as a home favorite, just 2-7 as an away favorite. Bama is also 13-2-1 against the spread in non-conference games against Power 5 teams. And Texas, by the way, is 0-3 against the spread as an away dog under Sark. And they were on the road last year. They struggled on the road. So add it all up, your fourth play is Alabama. That's Alabama -7 over Texas. All right, let's take a look at your quick hitters for the week. And we're going to go back to the team page here for this one. And we're going to take a look at Miami of Ohio against Massachusetts. Now, UMass lost last week as one of my plays. I watched that game, and, if we went back and Todd had his halftimes updated, which he doesn't this week. No, that's 2 weeks ago's halftime. Doggone it. If he had his halftimes updated, you see that UMass was basically even with Auburn yardage-wise last week. When I watch the games in my head, I'm counting good plays, bad plays. In that first half and into the third quarter, it was only about 60% good plays for Auburn. There was 40% good plays for UMass. That's more indicative of about a 7 to 10 point game. A couple of return touchdowns, things like that happened for Auburn last week in the blowout win, which cost us a selection winner here. But overall, I was not dissatisfied with UMass. Look at this for the game, only 492 to 301. That includes a couple of late scores. Auburn was still trying to score late in the game against UMass. Now, UMass is back at home, but this is one where the AGG definitely agrees with me. Miami last week played Miami of Florida. We won with the best bet selection on Miami of Florida here last week. They played at an 84 grade. So far this season, UMass playing at a 90 grade. And as mentioned, to me, this is a misleading final because they played much better than 59-14 last week. So now you got a team that's better AGG at home, getting a full touchdown. Quick hitter, let's use UMass +7 over Miami of Ohio. By the way, at the half last week, I believe it was 237 to 172. And one more quick hitter on that one. Chuck Martin is 4-17 against the spread in regular season non-conference games. Wisconsin against Washington State. The thing I want to point out here, we've got a legitimate revenge game. And once again, let's go back to our Phil Steele, our schedule with lines, and look at how the revenge games have done so far this year. Now, I've got different grades of revenge. So let's go to revenge file here. This was a revenge 2 game. This is a revenge 3. Utah last week was beat on national TV by Florida and got them at home this year. That graded out as a top one. Virginia Tech was upset by Old Dominion in a game. They outgained them. That graded out as a top one. Arizona, and the last time they met Northern Arizona 2 years ago, lost to an FCS team. That graded out as a top one. So your 3 revenge games, the ones rated 3, went 3-0. Overall, they went 3-1 last week. So if you look on the revenge file, I got 1-3 this week. Only one. It's right over here. And it is Wisconsin against Washington State. And why is that? Well, when you take a look at this game, we'll just look at Wisconsin because we don't need to look at both sides here. Last year, Wisconsin lost to Washington State, 17-14. But let's look at that box score. 22 first downs. Washington State had 10. They outgained them 401 to 253, and yet somehow lost the game at home as a double-digit favorite. You talking about revenge? You got revenge. And you know how high I am on Wisconsin this year. Your revenge play of the week from your schedule here is Wisconsin -6 over Washington State. And the final one is one, I was just cruising through this last night. I always work on these Thursday night. I spend a lot of time on this Phil Steele Plus tour for you. I try to get good information so you have a nice winning weekend. And as mentioned, 89 and 63 over the last 2 years, including quick hitters. But when I was looking at Arizona State against Oklahoma State, nothing jumped out to me. No green. But the one thing that jumped out is that everything I have is saying, let's take Oklahoma State here. Oklahoma State's, actually, this Vegas line, that should be 3. It'll be updated today. Here, if you look at last year's line, Oklahoma State last year was favored by 11 at home. They'd be favored by 5 on the road last year. Oklahoma State won the game. They must have won the game by 17 if this says 11, because they were at home last year. They're not. Plus minus says they win by 8. AGG says they win by 8.7. My preseason line was 7. So using these, and plus the situation is -1 over here. So when you use the situation plays, we grade out each team's schedule for the month, and we grade them as playing anywhere from a 5 to a 1. 5 is a massive game, biggest game of the month. 1's your weakest, and put the situation in there. And as you can see, the situations did well last week. They went 7-2 on the best bets. So this week, this does fit. Did it make a situational play? Oklahoma State, Arizona State. Where's this on that? I was looking up here. There it is. It's a -1. Now, -1 means favor the visitor. +1 means favor the home team. So I'm explaining the chart to you as well. It's not a best bet, but it is a pick on Oklahoma State. So Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State, Oklahoma State. And I like Oklahoma State. I think they're a team that, with Gundy being 7-3 is an away favorite. Gundy does well in non-conference games, and they're only laying 3 points here. The third quick hitter is Oklahoma State. All right, let's take a look at a couple of FBS versus FCS games. And if you guys haven't got my FCS magazine, please do it. I mean, we put so much work into this. We have 2 full pages, the same amount as the FBS on every team. I got to tell you, sales on the FCS magazine have been lower than I've expected this year. I expected much more. We put a lot of work into it. We're not making money on the FCS magazine. We're losing money on the FCS magazine, but I like to do the work for you. I like to have it. So if you haven't bought one yet, it's $25. Get up there and buy it. It's at the store, philsteele.com. If you're an FCS fan, you want me to continue to do the FCS magazine, get out there and buy the doggone magazine. Show me there's some FCS fans out there. But this week they started posting lines on FCS games early like they did last year. They didn't last week, not till Saturday, but now that they posted the lines early, I can give you some plays. Let's take a look at our first one. And as always, we put the visitor on the left, so let's go to the FCS pages, and we're going to put Southeastern over here. And Southeastern's right here. One note here, Todd up at the top has got 5th year at Southeast Louisiana. He's going to correct that because it says Southeastern, and that is their name, Southeastern. And they are playing South Alabama. So let's get to South Alabama. And, they're in the FBS. So let's go to FBS team pages, and we are going to click on South Alabama. Now, South Alabama disappointed me last week. They lost to Tulane, as you know, and that was very competitive in the first half, but this is a very good South Alabama team. And now they are off a loss. So I like the fact they're off a loss. That means they're not going to take anybody lightly. Last year they beat Nicholls State 48-7. And if you click here, let's click right here. This tells you how South Alabama does against FCS foes. I'm only counting their last year because South Alabama wasn't South Alabama prior to last year. Last year they were a really good team. We take a look down here. You can tell how Southeast Louisiana, or Southeastern, I should say, does against FBS foes. Now, down here, this is what the FBS foe was. So green actually means the FBS foe won the game. Green means the FBS foe covered the game. Last year, Louisiana beat them by 17. Florida Atlantic beat them by 33. And I rate South Alabama stronger than last year's Louisiana team, stronger than last year's Florida Atlantic team. So I like that fact. South Alabama's off a loss. My computer has them winning this game 47-13. And they are laying 16.5. Take South Alabama off a loss, minus 16.5 over Southeastern. Look for South Alabama to play much better the rest of the season. Take a look at Tennessee against Austin Peay. And we're going to put Austin Peay on the left. and Tennessee on the right. By the way, Chris is my FCS expert, does a great job following all the FCS games. Chris and Jim both are my FCS experts. But Chris updates me as to what's going on in the FCS. And he said last week he was following the Austin Peay game. And this is a game they lost 49-23. But Austin Peay actually trailed this thing 42-3 in the fourth quarter. Now, we don't give you box scores on the FCS games like we do on the FBS games. But I can tell you, Austin Peay trailed 42-3 in the fourth quarter. Tennessee, against FCS foes, has won by an average of 40 points per game, 221-24. And the one thing I like about Tennessee, and the reason I like to play them as a favorite, is they score late in games. You can look at some of these halftimes. Last year, they were up 21-0. They rolled 56-0. Not sure what they were up at the half. Once again, a little dig at Todd there because he doesn't have my halftimes updated. But by the time you see this video, he'll probably have the halftimes updated. But I think the game was closer at the half, and then they pulled away. That was the case in a lot of their games during the course of the season. Close at the half, pull away big at the second half. Tennessee keeps scoring late in games. If you went through these box scores last year, you'd see a lot of fourth quarter scores. So they're not going to let up. When they put the backups in, when they put Nico in the game, Nico was one of the top-rated quarterbacks out of high school. He's going to be trying to score. They've got 3-4 running backs that can run the ball. They're going to be trying to score when they get in the game. This, to me, looks to be a little bit of a mismatch. We're going to take Tennessee minus 41.5. Another game where my computer has this one 63-0, and our forecast on the game is 51-7. So we like Tennessee minus 41.5. And finally, let's wrap it up with Bowling Green against Eastern Illinois. We're going to put Eastern Illinois on the left, and this is going to be my turnover game of the week. I tell you what. Why my turnover game of the week? Because last week, BG was hit hard by turnovers. 5 interceptions. And if I had the box score here against Liberty, which he'll have it updated later today, if I had the box score, I could show you that Bowling Green, I had Bowling Green last week somewhere. I think it was on the it was actually my only best bet loss on Inside the Press Box. I went 3-1 on my best bets. I won with Virginia Tech. I won with Wyoming over Texas Tech. I won with Western Kentucky over South Florida. The one game I lost was Bowling Green plus 10. They had 4 interceptions during the game, right? They've got the ball down by 7, and they're moving. They've got 2 first downs. So here we are. We got a chance to tie the game. We're plus 10. We're in really good shape. Guess what? 5th interception of the game, and then Liberty tacks on a field goal in the final minutes to cover the spread. A game we played them even up, 22-19 first downs. And I thought, I'll be honest with you, I was sort of counting it as a win when we had the ball down 7, driving with 5 minutes to go in the game. In a game that we played them 22-19 first downs. So a disappointing loss. Made the best bets 3-1 last week for Inside the Press Box. But last week, 5 turnovers for BG. And how about Eastern Illinois? You look at this. Last year, Eastern Illinois was a team that was just 2-9. And they beat Indiana State 27-0. So you're thinking that's great. But the one thing Chris pointed out is that Indiana State, and we'll click on them now. And look at this. We give you individual stats on the FCS teams, updated all season long. Red, green on the FCS teams, average game grades on the FCS teams. You got to get Phil Steele Plus. But their starting quarterback, and it must be Cade Chambers, was out last week. So the backup quarterbacks played. And guess what? 4 interceptions, plus they fumbled the ball twice. So they were -5 in turnovers using backup quarterbacks, Indiana State was. And that's why Eastern Illinois won. So BG, -4 in turnovers lost. These guys, +5 in turnovers won. My computer's got BG winning this one comfortably. And remember last year, here's the thing I like. Most teams overlook an FCS foe. BG last year lost to an FCS foe. You think he's going to have any trouble motivating his team to get ready for this Eastern Illinois team that was 2-8 last year? No, because they lost to Eastern Kentucky. They need wins. They're off a loss. They need a win. We're taking Bowling Green -16.5 over Illinois. Hey, a couple of quick things. You want to see me on TV every week? We actually have the Phil Steele Plus show. I could show you here on Twitter where it's at. It is up and available every week. Let me go on, or should I say X is where it's at. And right here, College Sports Now, the Phil Steele Show. Just click on that right now. It's me on TV. It's an hour show. You can see me breaking down all the games they asked me about. I don't really. Last week I had 3 best bets on that show. We went 2-1. I don't put a lot. We put a lot of information up there for you. The games they asked me, I don't always have a strong lean on, but at least you get to hear about the games. Check it out today. It's College Sports Now right there. Just go to X, click on it. Also, this West Virginia podcast, really nice. In the Gun. Those guys are a lot of fun to do the shows with each and every week. So check those out. Get signed up for Phil Steele Plus. And by the way, if you're an FCS fan, please get that FCS magazine. And that'll do it. Let's hope we have another big week this week. We are now 24-14 the last 7 weeks, 89-63, including quick hitters the last 2 years. Let's hope for a big winning week this week. And hey, if you haven't got my Inside the Press Box newsletter, it's $20 this week, 87 write-ups, 3-1 on the best bets last week. Thanks for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour. I'll be back with you next week with more free selections.